No, Teddy. Oh, I don't get it. So you got it. Okay. Hello. Somebody get back on here. Get back on here. Cause I'm ready. Can y'all hear me? Whoever that is, say something in the comments. We was having some technical difficulties. Listen. Thank you for coming back. Yay, we have sound. Hello, bestie. Yay. Yes. So yes, minor issues, but guess what? We're still gonna have a wonderful podcast. I got some stuff we're gonna talk about. So come on back, come on back, come on back. Aisha, how was your day? Yes. It was nice outside. I was stuck in a building all day. I wanted some sunlight. But whatever. This is going to be a wonderful podcast. I got a few announcements to make, and then I have my topic. My topic. So far, so good. Yes, absolutely. I think I only talked to you maybe once or twice today. So, hey, girlie, what's going on? So, if I didn't tell you earlier, no, I didn't tell you, but the topic tonight is a very serious topic, one that many people tend to ignore, don't want to talk about because it's one of those awkward conversations, but it's still a much needed conversation, especially for our youth, for our households, for parents and caregivers. So we're going to talk about sex, pregnancies, and STIs today. Sexual transmitted diseases. I grew up on sexual transmitted diseases. They lost me when they said STIs. I was like, what's an STI? And then there's somebody was like infections, but okay, whatever. Same thing. Same thing to me. It's still all bad. It's still something that is nasty. So yeah, come on in. Everybody who was here, come on in. Come on back. Come on back. We got something good to talk about. Hey, Fatso, how you doing? Yes, Aisha, that's what we're talking about. Teenage pregnancy, teenagers engaging in sex. You know, I learned something myself. Hello, Ebony. How you doing, honey? I learned something myself when I was, doing a little research in regards to this topic. So yeah, I was let's talk about sex, baby. A lot of parents might not want to talk about that. Hey, Shar, a lot of parents may not want to talk about sex. In fact, I know quite a few parents when I was at the behavior hospital who definitely like withdrew from that topic. Yes, baby, we are live. We are back. You hear me? We are back. I'm gonna wait a moment um, to see. Well, I'm gonna wait a moment to get some more viewers so I can make some announcements, and then we'll get into the topic. But yes, this is a very good topic. It's very informative. Like I said, when I did my little research this morning. I learned something myself, and I'll be thinking I'll be knowing everything, especially when it comes to teenagers. But learn something new every day. You hear me loud and clear. Exactly, exactly. Talk about it. This info is needed. It is. I definitely feel like um, the teenagers definitely need it, especially this one section in regards to consent versus assault, because I feel like a lot of teenagers are getting into abusive or unhealthy type of relationships. So yeah, so come on, pop on in. Yes, thank you for showing the love. Thank you for showing the love. I truly appreciate it. And yes, we are live and y'all can hear me. We live, baby. Live and in charge. Hey, Miss Tasha, how are you? I haven't seen you in a very long time. But welcome to Voice for the Youth. It's my own. I'm the founder and creator of this youth organization. Hey, cousin. Hey, Shelby. How are you? How's your day going? Yes, keep them hearts coming. Showing love. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So let's get started. So I have a few announcements to make before we get started with the topic. So first announcement is Voice for the Youth and Chloe's Committed to Care Foundation. We are having a food drive. I've been posting it. She's been posting it. People been sharing it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing. Those who donated, those who contacted me in regards to picking up donations. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Those who are planning on donating, thank you in advance. Hey, Keon. So we are still collecting donations. We are collecting donations until March 15th. We are still collecting donations until March 15th. So if you are donating, please contact me or Shanika. Our number is on the flyer. If you got my number, you can definitely call me, text me, inbox me, whatever the case may be. I am willing to pick it up. She is willing to pick up any donations. All you got to do is reach out. Hey, Tamika. Second announcement. Ebony P. Jones, she is on the live. It is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. I'm sorry. And she is having a paint and release on March 26th. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to go paint and release some emotions, because art therapy, is a good way for you to express your emotions and you just be one with the paint and you just go, right? Go and support. If you can't make it, donate. If you can, it's a wonderful, wonderful cause. You can contact Ebony for more information. I will also pin this as well. Food donations. We will be giving out the food donations. I'm bagging it up. We will be giving out the food donations on March 27th. That is a Sunday. Sunday from 1 to 4. Again, we will post all of this information, but I just want to make an announcement. The food drive. Please donate. If you are new to this live, this is Voice for the Youth. This is a youth organization that I've created. So yes, please donate if you can, and thank you in advance. Thank you to all of those who donated. Last announcement, Voice for the Youth, Chloe's Committed to Care, and Ebony P. Ministries are teaming up. We are teaming up to deliver care packages for differently able individuals, whether they are young adults or children. Those care packages will be different sensory items, all the things that, these children need to be happy and continue to be happy and continue to move forward. I would definitely have more information in regards to that as well. Yes, teamwork. Teamwork make the dream work, Shar. I promise you. And I thank these ladies so much. There is a registration for the care package. I will also post that. So please look for those announcements. Please look for those flyers. And please share them. If you are supporting, a part of support is sharing the flyers and sharing the information. All right, let's get to talking. Dun dun dun. Let's get it. That's my show. All right. So, sex, teen pregnancy. Wait, let's start it over. Teenage sexual activity, teenage pregnancy, teenage sexual transmitted diseases. Let's talk about it, right? I used to do this group when I was at Rogers, right? And that was, one of the conversations. It was I always tell, my kids, like, we're going to talk about some stuff, okay? And it's going to be some stuff that's kind of awkward, but it's stuff that needs to be said. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be let go, and you need to gain some knowledge in regards to it. So, in regards to teenagers overall, and I explained this to them, is you can't take good care of yourself if you're not taking care of your sexual or reproductive health. Regular doctor checkups, personal hygiene, personal hygiene. I harp on personal hygiene. I used to tell my kids who, had them nasty attitudes, who may have wanted to fight me or, said slick stuff, called me a bitch, whatever the case may be. Words don't hurt me. But you cannot talk silly, talk stupid, try to rib, or any of that if your sit down air stank, or you wipe the back of that ear and it stank. Okay? You can listen. We gotta figure that out, right? Everything about you, you have in order for you to be in good care, you have to take care of everything that is around you on a regular basis, right? So the knowledge of sex, hey Tay, the knowledge of sex, I definitely feel like teenagers have the misconception of it. And if you are a teenager that is on here, please elaborate and let me know. Hey Cassandra, if this is something that you feel that I may not be telling the truth about. But I feel like in today's society with these teenagers, we don't know the pressure that they are under. Teenagers are being pressured to have sex. It's a part of fitting in. It's a part of being accepted. It's a part of being in a relationship. Yes, not if you'll sit down there and say, you can't talk stupid to me or call me on my name, and you'll sit down there and say, let's figure that out. But yes, the pressure is on, and then we have to know how to protect ourselves, right? Everybody know the word condom. Everybody know what a condom looks like. People blow it up, and it was a whole condom challenge when you drop it on your head. But do these teenagers, teenage boys and teenage girls, know how to properly use a condom? Know if they're allergic to latex? Know if they need to use lambskin and all of that? Knowing the size, right? Everybody think that they are large or extra large. No, you're not. Okay? Know your size. Women, young girls, not even women, young girls, you have to be able to speak up for yourself. A lot of times we don't because of that relationship, that peer pressure and those things. So like the whole issue with safe sex, right? What is it? What is safe sex? Right? Like what is it? Hey Tasha, hey Juanita, what is safe sex? It's prevention in all ways, right? It's feeling good about your body, your sexual orientation, your identity, and your relationship. One thing that I do know from speaking to a lot of teenagers, whether they are girls and or boys, they have an issue with their body in some way, shape, form, or fashion. There is self-esteem issues going on with them. There are issues going on with what they will change in regards to their body. We see this every day with women. I'm not knocking no woman for whatever they have gotten done, including men, because there is certain things that I would want done. I'm just scared. I'm scared. But does that cause me to have low self-esteem? No. But for our teenagers, it caused them to have low self-esteem because it's a part of them being accepted. Now, if you think that I'm wrong, once again, this is just my opinion. So if you think that I am wrong, please share your thoughts in regards to it. Because in regards to sex and sexual activities, our teenagers are going off of what they see on social media, what they see in movies, and what their peers are telling them. So from their peers, we already know that parents is in a push-pull battle with their children and their friends. And unfortunately, friends are winning, right? So communicate. It's very important that we communicate. So I used to ask my kids, what is something that they will tell their parents? If one of the questions that I asked was, if you were burning, if you caught an STI, right? If you caught a sexual transmitted disease, would you tell your caregiver? Would you tell your mom, your dad, your grandparents, uncle, or whoever, someone that can render you aid? 95% of my group told me no. Why do you think that these kids do not want to talk to their parents in regards to sex or STDs? This is a question for y'all. So, I have an answer. I have their answer. So y'all let me know, why do you think that they don't want to tell their parents? Why they don't want to talk to their parents in regards to what they have going on? Hey, Dump. One of the main reasons was, and I got this from a young man, he said he don't feel like being yelled at. He get yelled at about any and everything else, about skipping school and things like that. He said he feel that will go over. Like that will definitely take his mom over the edge, and then they feel like, the young girls, depends on how old they are. Elaborate, Sharita. Does age really matter though? A lot are afraid of the feedback coming from their parents. I've seen it all too much working with these girls. What type of feedback? Because we know that they're going to yell, right? We know that their parents are going to yell. What else? Like I said, like the one young man, he told me like that's going to take his mom over the edge, like getting yelled at. He's not with it. Um, Another one is because they're going to spread their business. They feel like their parents are going to go tell their aunties, their uncles, their grandma, then the whole neighborhood is going to know that they caught something. So my follow-up question was, y'all just going to sit there and burn? Y'all going to sit there and stink? You're just going to sit there and burn? You're going to sit there and stink? You're going to sit there and drip? Like, what? Like, you're going to be dripping? Like, green stuff and goo green stuff and goo just everywhere. It's, first off, it's unhealthy, but kids do not like to, that is a subject that they don't want to talk about. If you think about it, teenagers are already hiding a lot of different things, right? They're hiding their relationships, they're hiding their sexual orientation, their sexual identity, they're hiding, their friends, the good friends versus the bad friends, or things like that. Hey, Bianca, they're hiding all of this because the lack of communication. In my opinion, parent, and I don't try to tell anybody how to parent, because for one, parenting is not easy by a long shot. Every day is a new experience when you're having kids. I don't care what nobody say. I feel like every day is a new experience. But there's not enough communication because parents sometimes avoid that topic too. Yes, my daughter is 12, so she not having sexual interactions with anyone no time soon. Okay, Sharita, let me ask this question. She's not having it anytime soon. Have you had that talk with her? Have you and your husband had that conversation with her? Is she looking at sexually exploited things, sexual content, to where it's like curious to her? Answer that question for me. Willie is, hey, Scooter. Yes, until it becomes unbearable because the fear of embarrassment. The fear of embarrassment definitely takes over, especially for me. And I definitely would say that I do feel like being embarrassed by your family, in front of your family or in front of your friends, definitely makes you keep your mouth shut. This is a responsible action if they do not understand that certain STDs without prolonged. Absolutely, absolutely. And we're definitely going to get into that. Hey, Pam. One of the things, the reason why I asked that question, because before I lost my virginity, I went to my mom because all of my friends was doing the do. Okay. They were doing the do and I wasn't doing the do, but they were talking, right? They were talking. And I was like, oh, I need to know what the do, what the do is about. So I had asked her, I went trying to be a responsible 14-year-old, and I went up to her and I had asked her, hey, my friends and them, they doing this, and that. I just want to know what's about it. She almost fell and rolled off the couch when I asked her, okay? And she didn't give me no explanation. She got to yelling, I know, Mama, well, you ain't doing this, and that. She took me to the emergency room, St. Joseph, and then she made me a doctor's appointment. Each time I went, they had to make sure that I was still a virgin. Do y'all think I mentioned anything else to her? Anything else? Absolutely not. I didn't tell her absolutely nothing from that point on. When I lost my virginity, from moving on, I didn't say anything because I didn't feel like getting yelled at. I didn't feel like going to all of these appointments. And I just rolled with talking to my friends or talking to the cool auntie. If I did have an issue, thank God I never had an issue where I needed to go to the doctor for anything. But still in all, the way we respond to those awkward conversations, those awkward talks with our kids, will ease them to know that they can come and talk to you about anything. And that's, that's one of the goals of a parent, is like, we want our kids to come to us before they go to somebody else, because after all, we're mommy and we're daddy, right? So we should want them to come to us. Nope, Scooter, I definitely did not. I ain't telling nothing after that. So one thing that I always try to express is, like, especially with my teenagers, with my teenage girls, with the peer pressure in our bodies and things like that, is consent versus assault, right? No mean no, and stop means stop. So if you engaging in something and you just don't feel like doing it no more, no, stop. No means no, stop means stop. Consent, that is you agreeing to doing something. Us adults, we know what that is. Assault, the definition of assault and rape in different states, it depends, right? But still in all, hey, priest, the overall is not giving consent, not giving the okay, like, no, it is what it is. No, we're not doing that, right? And our young ladies, our teenagers are getting into, unhealthy relationships, that is falling into that category of consent and non-consent. You know what I mean? And like, where it can fall into assault, because it's like, well, you don't do it, and it's like, okay, well, I gotta do it because he's my boyfriend. Fuck that. Excuse my French, but how about that? Okay. Um, so yes, we have to be able to have these questions be asked to us as parents. We have to be willing to talk to our kids, have that conversation about the birds and the bees. I ain't no conversation about the birds and the bees, but we have to be able to have that conversation about the birds and the bees. Yes, we have. Yes, curiosity is there. However, I believe we should be pushing other things just as hard as we put. Absolutely. Absolutely. But sex education is very, very important, especially for our Black children, our Black and our Hispanics, our minority children, because we are at that point right there to where our teen pregnancy, our STDs, and things like that. And one of the facts with STDs are women are way more prone to catching an STD than men, than boys. Why is that? Well, if you are a woman, young girl, our bodies are way more sensitive than a man, right? Way more sensitive. So we definitely gonna catch some stuff and things like that. But we have to be able to have those conversations. I remember it may have been a few years. It's definitely been over a few years. But I remember when the high schools used to do blood drives, right, where they was doing, collecting blood and for good cause and things like that. So they went to like all of the different high schools. It has to be maybe about 10 years ago. I don't remember. Anyway, King High School. Everybody, King is a very good school, and the curriculum and all of this and all of that. King High School had the top rated high school with the most STDs, and there were some kids in there who had HIV. Whether it was kids who knew that they were burning, kids who did not have any symptoms, kids who knew and just was not saying anything. Kids, they be scared. So therefore, can you imagine you at home chilling and your mama get that phone call and you in there playing a game, or you in there doing your makeup, and it's the health department calling you with something that's not curable? And that happened to these kids. Some knew, some didn't. But the fact that the high school had the highest rate, and everybody, and don't get me wrong, King is a very good school. I think, it's how you do it. Thank you, Pam. But I still feel like, that lack of information, that special, that sex education, we have to be able to have that conversation. They need to learn about it. Saying booty and titties, that still gets a giggle out of kids, because we know that they're still immature, right? But when it comes to the sexual act, they really don't know what they're doing, but they're still engaging in it. And they don't understand the consequences that happen after engaging in sex. So, such as ST teen pregnancy, right? We're going to talk about STDs first. Out of all the STDs that we know about, what do you guys think is the top STD? What do you think is the top? Hey, Minerva. So, herpes, maybe. Herpes is a good one because you know what? Herpes, as we all know, we made jokes like if you got a cold sore, oh, you got herpes simplex 1 and things like that. Yes, herpes is there.
Can I guess?
Yes, absolutely.
You're not gonna tell me if I'm right or not. I'm just gonna use add it into the pool, right?
Yes, I'm going to add
Okay.
it into the pool.
I'm going to say chlamydia for $100.
So, chlamydia is number one.
Ooh.
Yes. Chlamydia is number one. So the top five. Chlamydia is number one. Gonorrhea is number two. HPV, the human papillonian virus, syphilis, and then genital herpes. Genital. Sorry, not general. Genital herpes is number five, which I thought herpes would have been number one, but it's not. Um, the teenagers who, a lot of teenagers just don't know like how herpes is spread. So that's why I thought like herpes would be number one because it's outside of like saliva and genital touching and things like that. Herpes live in your nail bed. It lives in your eyelids. It lives in soft tissue. So it's very, very easily to be spread. So I didn't know until I did my research that chlamydia, boom, pow, blew it out the water. People don't understand, like teenagers, they don't seem to understand like skin and touching and things like that, like with crabs, like little bitty crabs. I don't know if anybody ever seen a little bitty crab. You were right, Sharita, it is chlamydia. Little bitty crabs, they there. Crabs is like bed bugs. The infestation start. I tell you guys, it's rough. So any type of sexual contact with a person involving like genital touching, it can lead to an STD. Like we as an adult, we know that. We know that STDs is not generated just towards one person. Any and everybody can get an STD. I had a kid that said, "Well, only girls can catch it." No, you gonna get it too. You'll sit down there gonna stink too. So you keep on thinking that. And then how common is it for our young adults, our teenagers? The common age is 15 to 24. So you're dead into teenage years, going into your early adult years with this, right? Hey, Lorraine. So yeah, you have to know every year that age group is the highest every year when the CDC and the states do their testing and their statistics and their fact finding. That age group 15 to 24 every year is the highest ranking of STDs. It's sad. Like I said, women are at greater risk. 1 in 5 people in the U.S. catch an STD. 68 million people tested positive for STD in 2018. Half of that amount was teenagers. That's a lot of teenagers. That's a lot of lack of knowledge. A lot of lack of knowledge for that number to be that high. High sex drive. Yes, but why do kids having high sex drive, Sharita? And that's a question for everybody. Why do kids have a high sex drive? I listen. I could answer that in many of different ways, but today's society. Why do kids have a high sex drive? Exposure, absolutely. Exposure. Like when I was growing up, and there were adults doing the do in the house. Hey, Lisa, you had to sneak to hear stuff or like sneak, all of that. But now it's just like playing out in the open.
You was trying to listen.
I was trying to listen.
It was nasty.
I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they was doing the do. So, but it's the exposure and absolutely lack of knowledge. Attention. I would definitely say promiscuous teenagers and attention seeking. I said that earlier. That definitely causes for young women and young men to engage. Um, I think that the age of a person, because it says the fact that the average age for a teenager to engage in sex is 17. Do y'all agree or disagree?
Oh, that was.
That's how old you were? I was younger. I was younger, unfortunately.
I'm joking.
Okay.
I was almost 18. Yeah, I was.
That's a good age. My best friend, she was 19. Mm-hmm. That's a wonderful age. But today's society, though, today's teenagers.
How much am I allowed to talk?
You can talk.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Can Beats. I'm just the producer.
That's my friend, y'all.
But she is intriguing me with her topic. I think that just like we are desensitized to a lot of the violence that we see on TV, society is desensitized by all the violence based off of like social media, and we see people literally dying on social media and video games. The same thing is happening with sex.
Absolutely.
And it's I remember sneaking in my brother's room and looking at his magazines when I was younger. And that's the only way we could see naked people. And we just saw them naked. They were just standing there naked. They weren't doing nothing. They were just standing there with no clothes on. Now, at the palm of your hand, you can see any sexual act you want to.
Any naked person you want to, absolutely.
Not even naked, the sexual act.
Yes.
You can see the actual act.
Yes. That is true.
Any mix.
That is true. What I've learned today during this research, like I said earlier in the podcast, I've definitely learned some new things since I talked about this subject, was 333 million new cases in the U.S. of sexually transmitted diseases. And again, going back to the first fact that I said, that majority of half of that is teenagers and young adults up until the age of 24. That's astounding. Like that's crazy. Roughly 40,000 new cases of HIV happens every year in the U.S. What happens when diseases are uncurable? Well, not even, because there's only two diseases that can cure: herpes and HIV AIDS.
It's found a cure.
AIDS?
I just read that they found a cure for AIDS.
I think that there's a cure for everything. You just got to have the money for it. In my opinion, I agree. No one takes pride in privacy, or maybe it's just I agree. Like privacy, why? Why should there be privacy? Put it all out there in the air to see how many likes we get, to see how much attention I get, to see how many boys or young men will want to be with me, or want, sweat me, or whatever the case may be. Genital warts. Oh, I forgot about that. Those are things that, just be there and they look like wingworm little boogers. Ugh, who will want that? Anyway, the only STD, and I've learned this too, the only STD that affect men more than women is syphilis, right? Do y'all remember that one outlaw who had syphilis and he died from it, like deteriorated in prison from it? I bet y'all don't know. If y'all young bucks on here, I bet y'all don't know. But I do. It was alcohol. So with STDs, and we know that the age group and things like that. I also learned that from teenagers, I learned this speaking to a teenager, that girls and boys, but they are being safer just by giving oral sex. Leave me alone, Sheena. They are being safer just by doing oral. Once again, if your hygiene, if you are not taking care of your hygiene, oral will not be a good topic. And that goes back to the podcast on Sunday, right? With the Dookie chips. So, these young women, these young girls, these teenagers feel like, oh, well, I'm not losing my virginity. I'm not doing this. I'm practicing safe sex because I'm only, doing oral. I'm only, doing this. Wrong. Because if it's dirty down there, you still can catch whatever's down there, the dirt. You can catch dirt. I'm going to say that. You can catch dirt. You catch a smell, right? Are you still going to engage if there's a smell down there? If you're doing that, what does that say about you? Nope, not true. I've had some teens who have had STDs in their throat. Absolutely. And one thing that teenagers, that goes back to Miss Ashley saying, it goes back to Miss Ashley saying lack of knowledge, bacteria vaginosis, right? Trichomonas, you can get all of that in your mouth. Yeast, absolutely, you can get a yeast infection in your mouth where you're gonna look like you got thrash. But once again, lack of knowledge that our teenagers have, like they don't have it. And then once again, they don't want to talk to their parents about it because they don't want to get yelled at, they don't want to get judged, they don't want their business spreaded, or, it's just a world of different things that can happen regarding that, but they need to talk to someone. So it's very important, like, and I said it earlier in the podcast, it's very, very important to have that conversation with your kids, to let them know that this is a serious topic, this is a serious conversation, and that we should talk about that. My mother had to scare. I know where these girls are getting their info from. So one thing that I did with my sister, Shrita, when she was younger, me and my sister are 18 years apart. So when she was younger, I scared her into engaging in sex. So I had showed her a highly infected disease vagina and a highly infected disease penis. And I told her that if this touched this, this is what's going to happen. So it scared her all the way up until she was about 17. And then she told me like that really didn't happen. And it caught me off guard. And I'm like, what didn't happen? That, like, my stuff didn't bump up. That's first off, why are you even engaging in that? You're not even grown. But I scared her enough to where she got older in it. So to engage, rather. Kids don't know simple as being sex sells preventive fiction. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They also don't know that, like the bacteria that semen can have. That's a good question, Tamika. I don't know. Anybody know this question? Is there still being taught, are kids still being taught sex education in schools? Do you know? And at what age are they starting? Because I think they should start a little bit younger.
There are organizations right now that are nonprofit, but they are getting funding to do it at the middle school level, starting at like 6th grade. Not necessarily sex ed, but it's like sexual, what do you call it? Sexual intelligence or something of some sort that they changed the name of it, kind of like the STI. Yeah. Which don't sound now. STI sound like, oh, I can just put a Band-Aid on it.
Right. Instead of disease. Like disease will scare you.
Yeah, infection, you're like, oh, I just take a couple pills.
Right.
No. Yeah, but I think as early as like 6th or 7th grade.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then who said, yeah, in some schools, they have to take pride in being the untouchable girls. Absolutely. Let them chase you. Chase me. I'm not giving it up, but you gonna wish that you had it, even though I don't know what I got. You make them chase. Don't be that person. And that goes on to say that these individuals, like our teenagers, our children, are so used to want to be it that they don't know how not to be it. How not to be popular, not to be untouchable, because it's like a free-for-all, unfortunately. So it's good to be pure. It's called Simple Health in School. Okay. So again, that's sad. They could have at least learned the basics. I agree. Teach me the basics. Teach me all of what the sexual transmitted diseases are, and what is curable and what is not curable. And I think another thing is like how they teach sexual orientation and identity. They should teach about sex ed too, because there's nothing wrong with that. My daughter has some education in ninth grade. Did it stop in ninth grade, Sharice? Like, is that it? um and that was it. Like, what happened in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade? I think as we get older, we get curious, right? I was in school, we had people come in yeah, I remember in school we had the sex education, and they gave out condoms. And like I said, with condoms, do these kids truly know how to use condoms? Schools and no longer teach necessity classes and strictly book work, and that's unfortunately. I 100% agree. And then the book work, to some extent, is it useful? I mean, that's a whole nother different topic, because you have kids that say, I know this already, teach me something new, or when will I ever use that, things like that. Mine did. They came home twice in ninth grade and never saw. See, does it stop? Sex does not stop. Being promiscuous does not stop in the ninth grade. Being curious does not stop in the ninth grade. So once again, as parents, what's not being taught at school has to be taught at home. We should be teaching our kids at home, right? So teenage pregnancy, what is the result? Sexual, engaging in sexual activity. We talked about sexual transmitted diseases slash infections, pregnancy, teenage pregnancy. Although I thought our teenage pregnancy rate in Wisconsin was going up, it actually has been going down the last couple of years. Hey, Mocha, which is a good thing. So, but teenage pregnancy, which I learned this was anyone under the age of 20, because everybody say that they're grown when they are 18 years old, right? Okay, you are technically a young adult, but teenage pregnancy is clarified as anyone under the age of 20. Becoming a parent, a teenage parent, and I don't know if any of my viewers on here were a teenage parent, but it's statistically known that that's when teenage girls drop out of school. Right? I do know individuals who stopped going to school in eighth grade. They had to become the parent of the household, but that's for their siblings. What about for your own child? So statistically, it is known that becoming a parent is that's when teenage girls drop out of school. And then it's also 25% of teenagers, which was surprising. 25% of teenage girls, they tend to have their second child within 24 months of having their first one. That is back to back, right? You're just now figuring out how you're going to not even figure out, but like getting through that pregnancy and that child to get pregnant again. And we see that all the time. And that still falls under lack of knowledge, lack of communication, sexual health, and education, and things like that. We know that relationships between teenage pregnancies don't tend to last, because they're both young, and it's new to them, and it's fear, and I don't know what to do, and things like that. I have friends that were pregnant in school, but they all graduated, and that is wonderful. I do too. But right now, with today's society of teenagers, it's sad. It's sad. And I had teenagers who thought it was fun to be, to have a baby, because the first thing they thought about was, thank you, honey. The one thing they thought about was, oh, they gonna have that baby dressed in J's and Nike and polo outfits. That's not it when it comes to having a child. That's not the only thing about having a baby, is dressing them in Jordans and polo outfits. Because for one, the shoes is about $10, and the polo, like all of that. That's back there. Being a parent, that's a whole new ball game, right? And then the last fact that I learned about, well, I didn't learn, is I knew, was the fact that they tend to fall on, welfare and be dependent on state assistance. And that's one of the things, like, they feel like that's the dysfunction in the family. Well, you're going to get on welfare. You're going to apply for food stamps. Don't get me wrong, food stamps is a wonderful asset, but teaching our children and our young adults to not be reliant on that assistance and to move forward and be successful without assistance. Is it wonderful to get assistance? Absolutely. I'm not knocking it, but there's life beyond it. You don't have to be stuck. And a lot of our families and a lot of our children are being taught to be complacent and content with where they're at. Um, I was pregnant my senior year. I finished high school, but I turned down foster scholarships. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's one of the points that I was making, Sharita. That when you become a young mom, things change. You have to be a parent. I mean, of course, we know the options, right? We know the options of when you become pregnant. You could abort, adopt, put your child up for adoption, or be a parent. Like those are the three choices, and you chose to be a parent and you still are successful. Was it easy? I don't know for you if it was easy, or was it, did you have your hard points? But like I said, parenting is not easy by a long shot. Is it because kids feel like they don't have anyone to talk to? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel that, Tamika, teenagers, kids overall, if they already have trust issues from being judged, from being talked about, from being let down and things like that. So expressing a serious issue with someone that has broken their trust, they won't do it. They won't do it. So it's very important that when you are engaging with kids, or if you work at a school or anything like that, you know try to get their report to where when they have some serious issues going on, they'll come and talk to you about it so you can direct them in the right care. That is very, very, very important. And like I said, kids definitely have a lot of trust issues. So I don't know. I just One thing that I did learn, another thing that I learned, I'm sorry, is about a service that the state do in regards to like teenage pregnancy and unplanned pregnancies. It's called a family planning only service, and that's through the state, where they assist young adults in their pregnancy and things like that. I don't have that much information, but you can definitely find it on their website, the dhs.wisconsin.gov website, if you know someone who actually need this information. But overall, before I end the live, the reason why I talked about this topic is mainly because the lack of knowledge that teenagers have, the lack of knowledge, the lack of respect that they need, or that they are searching from individuals, the uncomfortness, the that ain't even a word, the awkwardness that they feel from their parents in regards to sex, pregnancies, and sexual transmitted diseases. As parents, as caregivers, as mentors, teachers, or whomever, you have to be willing to have those uncomfortable conversations with these children to be able to aid them in the right direction. Every conversation is not going to be peaches and creams. You have to be willing to have these nasty conversations, these fearful conversations. Just like, if it's no different if a kid come and tell you, if your child come and tell you that they're suicidal, that they're thinking about killing themselves. That's an uncomfortable conversation. That is a scary conversation, but it still needs to be had. I think we as parents got to create some form of loyalty and trust with our kids. We got it bad telling our kids mishaps throughout the family. So why would absolutely, I 100% agree. Like, where does the loyalty lies? Like, what, as parents, we know, because if you got kids and you on this live, you we tell our kids, because I have told my son this: what happens in my house stay in this house. So that's a part of loyalty. When your kid is walking outside of this house and somebody asks you what's going on with your mommy or your daddy or your sisters or your brother, and they tell you, ask my mom, or I'm not telling you nothing, The same thing needs to happen with a kid when they're coming to talk to you in regards to their, their business, their personal business and issues that they have. Don't go tell grandma. If you do, do hypothetically. Make it as your friend, but don't make it direct to your child because that is uncomfortable, that is embarrassing, and that makes them feel that you are not loyal and that they can't talk to you. So once again, where does the loyalty lie? If you're my mom and you're going to go spread it, or if you're my dad and you're going to go spread it, I'm not telling you anything. I've done it. I'm glad nothing happened afterwards, but still in all, you want to tell the world you got to take them to the doctor. I'm not doing all of that. Y'all went through my teenage years. Absolutely, we did, Tandria, and you came out perfectly fine. So did she. Um, Teenage, absolutely, that's a wonderful thing. These kids and detention centers need to hear all of this information. I agree. I listen, and I'm willing to go up in there and tell them because the majority of them I already didn't had. So I'm going to get ready to end the live. It would be great if you could go to different schools. I'm trying, Tamika. I'm definitely trying to get into schools to do psychoeducation. I was on that path before COVID hit, so now I got to figure out a way to navigate myself. So I'm looking for any information in regards to any of that, group homes as well, to do psychoeducation and to talk about this type of information. So I'm going to end the live before I end it. Don't forget about the food drive. We are collecting donations until the 15th of March. So hit me up. And thank you guys for tuning in, even when we were having technical difficulties. Hey, Kira, you guys still stuck by us and came back. So I truly, truly appreciate you. So I will see you guys again on another Tap In Tuesday podcast style. Peace, y'all. Love y'all.